You're listening to the Life Coaching Secrets Podcast, episode 199. Did you know that life coaches are needed now more than ever? I'm Frank Macri, founder of Thriving Coach Academy. I've trained over 1,000 coaches and helped them launch their own successful coaching businesses. If you want to make an incredible income and impact as a coach and have a lot of fun doing it, I'll show you exactly how to get it done. This is Life Coaching Secrets. What's up, coaches? In this episode, I am going to talk about the book that I have finally finished. I'm going to share with you what it's about, what you can get from this book, and share with you some of the biggest lessons that I've learned in this writing process that I've been on over the past year. If you remember in the last episode, I talk about how one of the reasons that I wasn't producing podcast episodes for a couple of months is I really wanted to devote all of my energy and focus onto our new students, our new instructors, and really polishing this book. And it's done. It is finally done. I feel so proud. I feel so accomplished. I have wanted to become an author for so many years. In fact, if you go into my calendar and you go all the way back to 2017, you can actually see time blocked in my calendar were days where I started to write previous iterations of what I thought would be a book many years ago. And what ended up happening is I shelved the idea and I focused on other things. And this past year was when I finally said, I'm doing this. I am not having any excuse. It honestly felt like the one missing piece for the work that I had put out into the world between this podcast and our students and our program and all of our student success. I felt like a book needs to come out of me. It's beyond time. So I'm really thrilled to share the book. The book is called The Thriving Coach, and it will be officially launched very soon. I will be sure to update you on this podcast and especially to our mailing list. Our mailing list will be the first to know when it's ready to be purchased. And it'll be, again, very, very soon. The book, again, is called The Thriving Coach, How to Transform Lives and Create a Business You Love. That is the full title. And it will be available in ebook, paperback, hardcover, and also audiobook. I'm so excited and thrilled to finally be sharing this book with the world and also to break down what the book writing process was like in this episode in case you might have a desire to also write a book one day. Now, I want to talk about some of the reasons why this book is going to change your life. Firstly, this book takes over 10 years of experience that I've had in the coaching industry, and it condenses it into one book, an easy to follow roadmap. So what took me 10 years to master and learn, you can read this book and learn it in a couple of days. And this book also is not based on just broad theories and concepts. The book is built on the exact strategies that I used to grow a 7-figure coaching business from scratch. And these aren't just insights that came from my own journey, but they came from training thousands of coaches and helping them build their own profitable and fulfilling businesses. I cover both the coaching essentials and also the business essentials in this book. So in the coaching essentials, in the first few sections, I dive really deep into the Rulebook coaching method, which is the signature coaching tool that I developed and that we teach in Thriving Coach Academy. It is the tool that creates breakthroughs within just a few minutes into a coaching session. And this is the exact tool that helps our coaches have life-changing results in record time with their paying clients. So I break that down in the book, and in addition to several other coaching tools and approaches. And when it comes to the business sections of the book, I talk about some of the things that a lot of newer coaches sometimes take years to figure out what works. And I dial it all in so that way it's going to save you months and perhaps even years of trial and error because I tell you exactly what works and what doesn't. The book is so simplified. I cut out so much fluff. I'm going to talk about that more in a little bit. It's giving you everything you need and nothing that you don't. So all the exact steps to find clients, to build your confidence, to create a thriving coaching business, it is all in this book. And towards the end of the book, I give how to make your first 10K, how to make your first 100K, and even how to make your first million as a coach. I lay out all the frameworks to land your first client, your next high-paying client, and how to continue to scale your business, even if you're just starting out with zero experience. So I want to talk about some of the things that surprised me and some of the takeaways that I had in this book writing process over the past year. Number one is that as I began writing this book, I realized that I didn't have one book inside of me, but I actually had 3 books inside of me. And it's been an ongoing joke I've had with some of my friends. I compare it to what I imagine it feels like to be pregnant, where it's like, oh, I thought I was having one baby, but actually I've got triplets. So my book coach, because right away when I was really committing to making the book this year, I said I'm hiring a coach, because whenever I have a goal in my life, I hire a coach. I hire a coach to help me because I know that's going to keep me accountable and accelerate my results. I always look for a higher ticket coaching program because I also like the value that I know I'm going to get from a higher level and more premium coaching program out there. So I invested in a premium coaching program that was focused on helping professionals write books. And in my very first session with my coach, he said, don't be surprised as you start writing if you realize that you actually have more than one book inside you. So that was really interesting. And I do plan to publish more books in the future. I had to calm down the overachieving brain inside me because I wanted to, right when I was finishing up the first book, I had this idea, maybe I could also just start writing the second one. And I realized, let me just really focus on the first one before I get ahead of myself. And I already know exactly what the next couple of books will be about, but I'm going to let this one breathe. I'm going to enjoy the launch process. I'm really going to allow myself to celebrate this and let it sink in and share it with the world before I go about and finish future books. The second really interesting thing about this writing process is how much of the content that I ended up trimming out of the book and cutting from the manuscript. So there's so much power in editing and letting go. I took out over 50,000 words from this book. And to give you a little bit of context, the final manuscript is about 53,000 words and about 260 pages. So it's a good sized book. And I cut out pretty much a second half of the book. And this was through my own editing, but also I had professional editors go through the book. I had a couple of rounds of editing. And even after edits were made, I chopped an additional 5 chapters out of the book. So the book went from 40 chapters to 35. There were some parts of the book that I really loved writing, but I realized I needed to cut them because they didn't serve the reader. So I learned that good writing is just as much about what you remove as what you include. And I was pretty ruthless with what I was cutting out of the book. I wanted there to be zero filler, no fluff in this book. Anything that didn't serve the main purpose of the book, gone. And I've always been someone that values simplicity and minimalism. It's one of our values in Thriving Coach Academy. It's keep it simple. And our students in the program know how streamlined and simple we make our curriculum, our coaching tools, our business strategies. So I wanted to also emulate that in the writing process and in the finished product of the book. The challenge was I had so much to share. I mean, this is a topic I'm so passionate about, and I've been on year 5 now of this podcast, where I've also been able to share hundreds of episodes about coaching. So I had so much that I wanted to share, and it was fascinating to decide not just what to share, but what not to share, and also what order I wanted to share everything. With this podcast, it's a little bit different because I can hop on, turn my microphone on, and publish an episode. It's not necessarily sequenced in an order that goes from beginning to end. So the book challenged me to organize all of my thoughts in a way that I really had not before to this degree. Another interesting lesson I learned in this process has been that you don't have to create this right moment to write or type the book. I always thought you needed to have massive time blocks where you really needed to devote hours and hours to writing the book. But what I found worked really well for me was creating pockets of focused time. So I found a lot of creative opportunities to bang out a few chapters of the book. For example, if we were going on a car ride, running an errand that I knew was going to be a half hour one way and then a half hour back home, just, day-to-day life, I would bring my laptop with me. My partner would drive and I would be in the passenger seat and I would be typing the book. And I found this to be really helpful because there was constrained time and that allowed me to be ultra focused. So I couldn't overthink. I couldn't really over edit things as I was writing. It was just about getting the ideas out. And I encourage anyone that is going to write a book to try to see the opportunities in those in-between moments, like during commutes, or if you're waiting for an appointment, or even if you're on a walk, you're just doing opening up your phone and doing a voice note recording. You'll be shocked at how much you can create if you just stop waiting for the right moment. So I found that was a really amazing strategy in writing the book, having those little pockets of focused time. Now, with that being said, though, another lesson I've realized in this process is that the book took a lot longer than I thought. And there's a few reasons for this. One is my perfectionism. In the academy, we talk all about the masks that your clients are going to be wearing. And one of the most common ones is perfectionism. And this is one that I've had for many years of my life. And I noticed how it really reared up for me as I was writing this book. I was, even during the first draft, I was trying to write this perfect book. And I had to remind myself constantly, this is the draft for a reason. It is not supposed to be polished. It's supposed to be messy. That's why you have editors who can go through and clean it up for you. And it kind of brought me back to when I was in school. I got a lot of validation during my schooling years when I was able to impress my teachers. And it was like I had this connection in my brain where I thought that I need to impress the editors. And then I realized that they are being hired by me to review and edit the book. Just like in Thriving Coach Academy, myself and the other instructors, when students are afraid to coach and get feedback on their coaching, we have to remind our students sometimes, like, we're not listening to the students to judge them negatively. We are there to provide them with feedback and evaluate them. Like, we're not forming a negative opinion. We're fulfilling a service of evaluating your coaching. So I had to remind myself the editors are there not to critique my book because whether they like it or not, they are hired because that they're going to help polish it and make it better. So I noticed that my perfectionism really did come out. And what was interesting about this process as well is there were so many times when I felt like I was very close to being finished with the book and then realized that there was much more to finish. And I wonder if other authors can relate to this. There was a lot of this back and forth, this constant feeling of I'm almost finished, and then actually there's still a lot more to do. So that was also something that required a lot of patience of me in this process. And when you finish the book, it's interesting because you feel so great and you want to get it out in the world, but it has to go through editing and it's got to go through formatting and you've got to design the cover and then, come up with your whole launch plan. And that has been something that's also tested my patience because even though I finished the manuscript probably over a month ago, we're still finishing up formatting and all these, other parts of the process. So it requires patience of you, not just in the beginning and during the writing process, but at the end when you finished. It requires a lot of patience. And patience can sometimes be challenging for me. Another really cool part of writing this book was the audiobook experience. Now, I went back and forth on whether or not I should be the one to narrate my own book. And I ended up deciding to hire a professional to narrate the book. And I want to explain why and why I really feel like I made the right decision there. Number one, from just a business perspective, I thought it will take me a significant amount of time to record a 53,000 word book because it's not just like a podcast where it's okay if I don't say something perfectly. This is something where I've got to recite each sentence exactly as it is. And that's a lot of chapters. And sometimes even just recording a few podcasts in a day, my throat can be pretty sore. I need to soothe my throat with tea and relax my voice. So I just couldn't imagine what it would be like to do that. And also I thought, is it really the best usage of my time to, be narrating this book when I could hire someone that is trained to do this? This is what they're paid to do professionally, and they know how to do it well. And I could devote my focus to other things that I want to create for our students. So I found somebody to narrate the book. It was actually really fun. There was an audition process where there were about 5 or so different professionals that basically read out one chapter of the book. So of course I gave the most ridiculous chapter with the funniest story, because I wanted to see just how the energy that they brought to the book. And I knew right away after listening to a few of the auditions exactly who I wanted to go with. And what was really cool is after the narrator finished going through the book, I listened to the entire book. And that was very revealing because it helped me realize some parts that I wanted to clean up and clarify. So by hearing the book from another person's voice, it helped me know how to enhance the book, because I was listening to the book as if I was an actual consumer of it, rather than like I was the one that wrote it. And it would have been very different if I was just hearing my own voice, because everything would make sense to me. But when I heard another person read certain sentences and parts of the book out loud, I saw opportunities to strengthen various parts of the book. So I'm very happy with the way that the audiobook came out, and very excited to also have that as an option for people that prefer to have an audiobook. And the ear really does catch things that the eye does not catch, like certain sentences or transitions or repetitive phrases. So that was a huge takeaway in this writing process. Another takeaway was just the appreciation that I was able to have for my own story. I've shared my story on this podcast many times, and how I got into coaching and the challenges that I faced entering the industry and how I overcame them. I used to be someone that was afraid to share my voice. Like if you were to ask people that knew me as a teenager to describe me, they would describe me as reserved and shy and probably insecure. That's just the energy that I put out into the world. And at the time, that was really how I felt about myself. I did not have confidence. I didn't think that my voice mattered. I didn't think I had value to share. So to go from that place for so many years of my life and have those rules in my head to, have a successful podcast with, we're approaching 200 episodes now, and now to share my voice and my story through a book was incredible to be able to, have that transformation over these years. The writing this book and going back to the beginning stage of starting a coaching business, it allowed me to revisit those early struggles that I went through as a coach, which helped me know how to better support our students in the academy by just remembering some of those hardships that I went through in the first chapter of my business. And it was also great to reflect on how far I've been able to come over the years. So going through the book writing process and reflecting on my story has been transformational to me. And I'm really, even though it was challenging, I'm very grateful that I stuck with it and allowed myself to share my story in another way. What was really fun when it came to the book cover is we involved a lot of our community in deciding on what to make the cover of our book. So I had a professional designer create some drafts, and we had our mailing list vote, and we also had our students and graduates inside Thriving Coach Academy vote on which cover that they preferred. And we're going with the cover that got the most votes. There were a couple that I really liked. It was just a matter of, okay, what do the people like? So I was stuck between a couple. And if you ever feel stuck between a couple of choices and you're writing a book, involve the people that you're creating it for. And this could also go true if you're creating a coaching course or program. You can involve your audience in helping to finalize some of the details around your book or your program or your course. Your audience will guide you in the right direction. And I feel really solid about the cover that we are going with. What was also really fun with this process is formatting the book and really creating more visual elements for clarity. Now, writing a book, I believe it's way more than just throwing words on a page. And some of the best nonfiction books that I've read have a lot of images. They've got charts, diagrams, frameworks, and I wanted my book to also have those components. So that way it was a fun experience. I didn't want it to just be a chunk of words on a page. So there are a lot of beautiful images that I took the time to have inserted into every chapter of the book. There are various charts and diagrams, and all of this makes the book more digestible. I wanted the book to be one that people can read through and enjoy, especially for visual learners as well. And at the end of each section of the book, I included some key takeaways so that readers can recap and review all of the main concepts as they're going through the book and summarizing everything that they're learning. And I even sprinkled in a few free gifts in the book to provide even more value than just the book itself. So that was really fun. Like, just when I got to the formatting phase, thinking about ways that I could make the book really stand out and pop so that it wasn't just a big chunk of text. And another lesson through this process has been the power of momentum. And you might have heard like the phrase or the expression, like when something that's in motion will stay in motion. So I noticed that there were times over the past year when I took breaks from writing the book, and those breaks made it harder to get back into the book. The longer those breaks went on, the harder it was to get back into the spirit of writing. But once I was in the spirit of writing, it was difficult to stop. So there's so much to be said about the power of momentum. When you start something and you keep doing it, it just gets to a point where it's hard to stop, right? This is true when it comes to fitness and exercise. I noticed that times when I stop going to the gym, it becomes so difficult to get back in the gym. But once I'm working out, I'm in the zone. It's easy to continue to go to the gym several times a week. So I noted this is when I realized how much momentum I was creating. This is when my brain was like, oh, why don't you start writing another book? So I actually did write probably about 80% of a second book. But then, as I mentioned earlier, I decided, let me hold off on that. Let's start with one book right now and enjoy this process before you go back into a second book. I want to also end this by talking about just how this writing process has really changed me as a person. I feel so accomplished. I feel really proud of myself. Of course, this book's not about me, though. I'm so excited for you all to have your hands on it. This book has given me such a sense of purpose, and it is a resource that I know that will change people's lives who are looking to become successful coaches. And it's a book that I truly wish I had when I was getting started. I was writing this book to the version of me that was new to coaching, and what is it I wish that I would have learned, or what is it I wish I would have been taught to have faster success getting into this work. So I'm excited for the difference that this book is going to make in your life. I cannot wait for you to experience it. I feel like how I imagine an artist feels when they have like an album that they've finished for a while, and they're just so excited to finally drop the album and let their songs into the world. And that's exactly how I feel. Like, I am so excited for you all to be able to have this book really, really soon. I also have a newfound respect for authors. I've always admired authors, but it takes it to another level when you actually become one. I now understand why books take a while to write. Because it's not just about having the knowledge. You really need to think about how you're structuring what you know in a way that makes sense to the reader. And I realize now how easy it is to wrestle with various ideas and rewrite sections multiple times and obsess over a sentence or a word, but also wanting to make sure it's clear and compelling and valuable. It takes a lot of energy to organize a powerful book. So I have an appreciation for anyone who has ever finished a book. I know that we've got a few of our students in the program who are also authors, which is amazing. And a few of them are also aspiring to become authors as well. And I know that when all this is said and done, when the book's out there, I will certainly look into providing some resources to our coaches in the school to help them publish their own books if that's something that they want to do down the line. And also, just one of the ways that the book has changed me is I think it's helped me become an even better coach trainer. It's helped me know how to simplify things even further. even concepts and tools that I've been teaching for several years, because writing this book has forced me in a good way to take the coaching philosophy that I've developed, something I've been teaching, and strip it down to those essentials and like figure out a way to make it so incredibly simple that someone who's brand new can really understand and apply it to them. So one of the concepts that I introduce to our students in the academy is to really think about how can you make this even simpler? How can you make this easier to grasp? I tell this to our coaches when we teach them about creating marketing materials for their business. It's not about being an expert. It's not about like sounding the most complex and sophisticated. It's about really taking what you know and simplifying it and making it easier for people to grasp, making it really accessible. So this writing process has helped me know how to take what I've been teaching and understand how to teach it in an even simpler way. Now, this book it's dedicated to you. It's dedicated to the listeners of this podcast, the people that have, believed in me and trusted me in being a part of your journey. It's also dedicated to our students and our graduates in Thriving Coach Academy for all of the commitment they have to inspire people and make a difference in the world with their coaching. And, anyone that's also just believed in me and this mission I have with the work we do in TCA. So whether you've been a part of the academy from the beginning or joined along the way, or you plan to join in the near future, you are all the heartbeat of this movement. And it's all of your stories and your questions and your successes that have really shaped this book and every lesson within it. So this book is for you. And I hope that this book is a guide. I hope it's a companion for you. I hope it's a reminder that you are capable of creating the thriving career and the life that you deserve. So here is to your continued growth and impact. Get on our mailing list if you aren't already, so you know the second that this book drops. It's called The Thriving Coach, and go to thrivingcoachacademy.com. Just click any of the buttons on that page. You'll get on our mailing list and you'll know right away when the book releases so you can get your hands on it. I'm so excited to share it with you all. And these have been some of the lessons that I've learned in the writing process. Before we go, I'm going to include a little snippet from an interview I had with one of our coaches in TCA so you can learn some of their tips for how you can be successful as a coach. So enjoy their story, and I will see you in the next episode.
My name is Allison Cowan. The moment I discovered coaching was through working with a coach. I became so inspired and came to realize that my life has led me to coaching and that I was born for this. I did a lot of searching and due diligence to find a program that was my match. As I continued searching, I was continually drawn back to Thriving Coach Academy. I wanted a program that was ICF accredited because I value excellence and credibility. I started with Frank's introductory offer of Coaching 101 and began listening to his podcasts. Then when I realized that I was doing this repeatedly, I knew head, heart, soul, intuition that this was right for me. It was filled with a lot of what ifs and a lot of fear. I was concerned about investing the money. What if this doesn't work for me? And all of these what ifs and fears have been completely obliterated. My financial wins have actually blown my mind. Within 3 months of enrolling in TCA, I had 3 clients hire me in a day that paid for my investment in the academy. When I really look at how much I have learned and have accomplished in such a short time, there are no words. I'm astounding myself. But it's also been through the belief from the academy, which continues to inspire me to keep moving, even if I'm making mistakes, and just to keep trying and keep going. And that has been my inspiration. Even before being certified, I had a month where I earned over $10,000 a month as a coach. But before the academy, I was charging, $50 per hour and wasn't offering package programs. And since then, I am now charging $250 per hour. With all of the support that I've gotten and all of the teaching that I've gotten, I couldn't have even imagined this. I knew I wanted to do this and I was completely happy where I was, but wow, I see my business thriving and expanding in ways that will be beneficial not only to myself, but to others. For me, it's not only about the money, but my personal growth and the teaching that I've received, becoming an effective coach and understanding the artistry of it, being part of a caring and supportive community. Those things matter just as much. There is such a safe environment held. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid to make a mistake. I was graciously taught and guided and encouraged to try again. And that mistakes were how we learned. The other thing is belief. I've had others believe in me in the past. I have never felt so believed in as much as I have through TCA. I can't wait to wake up every morning to get started. If anybody is thinking that they're too old to learn something new, I started my business at 55 years old. I can't imagine retiring from it. I want to do this the rest of my life. And we never know when our time is going to be up. So we might as well just go in and do what we love.
Hey, would you like access to powerful coaching tools you can use on yourself and clients right away? For being a listener of the podcast, I'm giving you a VIP guest pass to get a sneak peek into my coach training program. Inside, you'll learn our coach's secret tool they use to transform their clients' lives. And you'll also get a training on how to launch a coaching business. Just head over to www.thrivingcoachacademy.com/VIP to get started. I'll see you on the inside.